right.
He's just going to be a Skylander.
This is a really good segue into topic 2, which is today. This is a little outdated for you listening, but Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 officially announced. I am super excited.
You've been waiting for this game forever,
man. Tony Hawk, specifically the Pro Skater.
Oh my
God, Pro Skater series, my fucking jam.
Yeah.
I love it so much. I loved it all the way through all the way even to American Wasteland. I would say they were
that's
good.
a deep cut. You're getting deep out there.
But like Pro Skaters were definitely the best ones to me, and I love them. 1, 2, 3, and 4, so good. Waiting for 5. I even like the HD, like remake, reboot collection thing that they did a couple years ago on PS3 and 360. Finally announced 5, and I'm reading through the article today, and I'm fucking stoked. And I start seeing the screens. I'm like, this looks just like the HD. If you told me this,
remember
was
it's
the
got to
HD
run on PS3
thing,
and 360. They're doing that shit.
Well, then I start reading, and I'm like, oh, it's coming out on PS4 and Xbox One, and then later on PS3 and 360. That's great. Oh, there's projectiles in submissions that you shoot out of your skateboard. Why?
Are you sure now? Because we read it on Colin Org Live. Are they? Maybe you're throwing something.
Whatever. That was in Thug 2, and it was stupid. It was
Thug 2. Thug and Thug 2 were great games. So let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Thug was great.
Yeah.
Thug 1 was great. Thug 2 was a product of the era. Like it was like, what's great? Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. What's also great? Jackass. Let's put them together because there's some overlap.
Bam Margera.
Yeah, but it was good.
He's right at the center of that Venn diagram.
I mean, people hate on Thug 2, and I don't think it's fully just.
Okay.
But I mean, it's definitely not as good as the other ones.
All right,
but
they're shooting projectiles out of your board.
But you're shooting these goddamn projectiles, and like, that sucks, man. It's like, how do you start this sentence saying it's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5? It's going back to the first 4. Oh, here's all this fucking bullshit that no one wants. Like, there's no one out there that's like, I wish my skateboard could shoot things right now. Maybe there is, but like, not in this game. Definitely not in this game.
God damn it.
So my question to you guys is, what are features or what are things in games that you like that suck?
Games you like with features that suck.
Yes.
There you go. Nailed it. Good job, Colin.
Yes.
Immediate thing jumps to mind is Uncharted 1, when the only way to throw grenades was by using the 6-axis, and you're like, fuck you, Sony. Why would you make anyone put this in their game? You know what I mean? Granted, 2 and 3 got rid of that. 2, sweet. But it's like typical PlayStation stuff where they're like, we have this crazy new thing that has to be used, so put it in your game and make it be used.
Yeah. For my example, for something like that is Donkey Kong Country Returns on the Wii. I was so excited for it, and it's like, you can't mess this game up. This is going to be great. And it was a great game, except for the fact that Donkey Kong has not many buttons necessary. You fucking move with the D-pad, you jump, and then you roll. But instead of making the roll a button, you had to shake the damn thing. And it's just like, that fundamentally changed the flow of the game. It was fine. It was still fun. It was still good. But it's like, why'd you need to do that?
It's also imprecise. That's the problem with motion controls. Yeah, Twilight Princess is the game I think about with that. Like, I wanted to murder someone when I played Twilight Princess for the first time because I couldn't get it on GameCube. I couldn't find it anywhere. I've told the story in the past about how I was a senior in college. I went to the store. I had no money. I couldn't afford a Wii. I went and I'm like, I got my freelance check. I was like, do you guys have a Wii? And the guy was like, I have one. And I was like, and then so I had to wait like until the summer of 2007 to play Twilight Princess because the fucking GameCube version was like nowhere to be found. Fucking infuriating. I remember being so mad. Like, that happened.
You still seem pretty pissed about it.
I was, because I think that I was largely not largely because I think Twilight Princess isn't a very good game, but I was soured on Twilight Princess having to play it on Wii with those goddamn controls. I was like, this is an abomination. I can't believe I'm fucking playing this game like this. Like, why can't I just plug in a goddamn GameCube controller and play the game? That was like I was like, oh, this waggle shit is driving me nuts. But it works sometimes. I thought it worked fine in Mario Galaxy, for instance. The waggle did not bother me much.
Yeah, me neither.
I couldn't stand it.
Mario Galaxy felt shockingly good to me, like considering how unorthodox that whole control style is of having the nunchuck. Just
Mario Galaxy was for me was I was sitting there, I'm like, this is so beautiful and cool. I have trouble with the perspective they're putting me in. I'm missing jumps I shouldn't miss, and why can't I use a fucking controller?
But features I think about, I mean, my beloved Resistance franchise has, like the whole thing with the Resistance games that makes them special, other than I think their story, which I think is awesome, is the secondary effects of all the weapons and how like the bullseye, for instance, like you can tag an enemy. Advanced Warfare totally ripped it off. Like you can like completely fucking ripped it off. And that's one of the things I asked him when we were on the show. I'm like, did you get inspiration from other things? Because this is clearly the bullseye from Resistance. Is you tag an enemy and then they just go behind cover and the bullets like follow them. Like that was one of those cool things. But that always felt that kind of thing always felt tacked on, where I'm like, I just want to play a shooter.
Yep.
You know, like I don't need all this stuff I'm never going to use. I'm using it because I feel like I should be, but I don't have to. Those are the worst features in any game, is like when it's there and you don't have to use it, and therefore you don't. Like, I don't like those kinds of options. Maybe some people do, but I don't like something where it's like tacked on to be different, but you don't actually need to use it.
Making systems more complicated than they should be to try to inspire you to do something different with it, right? And this is a very Greg Miller example of this, but you can apply it to your favorite game, Ghostbusters. And the fact that I was so excited to play Ghostbusters and have a HD Ghostbusters game and be a Ghostbuster, right? And like we modeled the proton pack and made it look exact, and then we gave it 3 different shooting mechanisms and features, and it's shooting like blue electric. And it's like, what are you fucking doing? Just give me a proton pack. I want to just be a Ghostbuster. I don't want all this different ass crap.
Yeah. I mean, I think my application of that's Pokemon, where it's just like there's so much shit in these Pokemon games now where it's like there's beauty contests and you dress them up and you do all, and it's like, why? Like, no one wants to do this stuff. Like, this isn't fun. And it's like, now, then they if it was all side stuff, whatever. But it's like they found a way to force it into the main story of each game.
Yeah.
And so you have to get at least one gold medal in the freaking talent contest.
Sure.
Your goddamn Pikachu needs to sing.
That shit's annoying as hell.
And it's not cool.
It's a tale as old as time right now, but forced in multiplayer, right? Like
Oh.
Freedom Wars was a great fucking 30-hour experience by myself or playing with Christine or whatever, but then now there's missions I need 3 other people for. It's like, where am I going to fucking find 3 other Vita? I don't want to organize a room and do all this different stuff. Just let me play the game the way I want to play the game. Now you're fucked.
And I think, we're ragging on games, but there's games of
these are
deep,
games we like.
of deep complexity. But I'm saying there are games of deep complexity that nail complexity. The game I think about is Final Fantasy Tactics. That game is fucking crazy deep, insanely deep. Like to the nth degree. How you play that game, how you structure your party, how you learn classes, how you buy items and weapons, how your characters die permanently, all these kinds of things. But it all felt like it needed to be there, and that's what makes a game like that a masterpiece. And Final Fantasy Tactics is definitively a masterpiece, is when the game is overflowing with depth. Another example is Civilization 5. When a game is so deep, where I've played Civ 5 for a fucking insane amount of time, I still don't really understand the entire game. Like, but it's all there and it makes sense. And when you meet someone like we met with Sid Meier or whatever, it's like, this guy just knows what he's doing, and it all makes sense. And there's a complexity to it. With something like Tactics, I think about Tactics Ogre, where it's like deep on a class-based system, deep on a grid-based system, the turn-based systems, the weapons and armor, the magic, the way your characters evolve and level up and stuff like that, and it all makes sense and it all fits. That's the beauty, is when a game is so systemically complicated, yet it works together like a beautiful play on a stage or something, and every piece is right in place and nothing feels out of place, and then that's so on the other end of the spectrum is you can have deep complexity with games you like and they work. But I think simplicity is often king. We think about Mario World, for instance, on Super Nintendo is not that different from Mario 1. It has more stages and you have a few more powers, but basically the game's the same. They're very familiar. If you could see one in the other, if you can show Colin in 1988, Mario World in 1991, you would understand how to play the game.
Yeah.
Small iterations are often better like that, and I think simplicity is often king, and that's why a lot of the games that we love most, I think, are the simplest. And I don't mean simple in that they're easy. I mean simple in that you can understand them, and it's the rigors of playing them that can be difficult.
Yeah.
Not the complexity of the systems. Nintendo's good at that generally. Nintendo's very good at that. There's only a few games that they don't nail with that, like Fire Emblem. I don't think, like, and for instance, like that's not a series that resonates with me. I don't think they make good strategy games.
Well, what's
like
interesting, I mean, I love Fire Emblem. I love it so much, but what you're saying about tactics just being completely right in every system is necessary. Like with Fire Emblem Awakening, it has the support system where it's like you like team up and stuff, and it's great and it's fun and all that stuff, but it's like it's not necessary, and it does feel kind of like here's more stuff, just have more stuff.
That's the way I felt when I mean, Fire Emblem Awakening, I think, was the last one. That was the first one I had like really, really, really delved into, because my big problem with Fire Emblem, and it was just from reading about it, I'm not sure how like overstated the issue was that there was a linearness to Fire Emblem where like it wasn't. The cool thing about Tactics was that you could just play at your own speed, kind of. If you're not ready for the next mission, you could just go back and fuck around. And you really couldn't do that in many Fire Emblem games. Where
Awakening was probably the most, at least the ones I played, it's the most open where you can kind of go back.
And that's what it was. That's how it was sold to me. With people, I'm going to get into it, and I was just like, I don't.
But even then, it was not legit.
No.
Still just like, oh, you can go back and face some random enemies a couple times.
Right. Like, and so I felt constrained, and that was my problem with Fire Emblem. Also, I just that game just didn't resonate with me. I thought I was gonna love it.
I love.
And it just didn't resonate with me. There was something off about it. But I want to give Nintendo credit where credit is due, and obviously Nintendo's intelligent systems, for instance, or Nintendo's other developers. There's a lot of they understand. Fire Emblem's a bad example of it, but they understand the simplicity mantra. And how that can create depth. If you get to Star World in Mario World, for instance, there's nothing simple about it, but playing it is simple.
Yeah.
It's just mastering it isn't simple, or finding all the Yoshi coins isn't simple, even though the tools are all there. You just have to figure it out.
Yep.
I like those kinds of games, not games that put in just extraneous shit to make it seem deep, even though it's not. If I only need a machine gun to beat a shooter, I'm only going to use the machine gun.
Yeah, no matter how many other
different
guns you put in there, perks. Yeah.
Yeah, so another, for me, a feature that I was like, this is so unnecessary, I don't want this, was Flood in Mario Sunshine, where it's like, I just wanted to play Mario. It's like, I wanted Mario 64 again. I just want to run around and stuff. But then it's like, when you play it, though, it's different. Then it's like, oh, shit, you were right, Nintendo. You were actually right. This is good. It's not what I wanted. I still want this other Mario, but, like, you created something awesome with this. And that might be one of the very rare instances where there was a feature that I was like, no, don't do this, and it ended up being awesome. Will I think that about Tony Hawk and its freaking
projectile modes?
Probably not.
Don't know.
It sounds stupid, but I mean, I'm waiting to see what they're gonna do with this. I'm a huge Tony Hawk fan from way back too, but I only played like the 1, 2, and 3, I guess, and then I just stopped. I'm over it. And I remember buying that game Thrasher too, because it was supposed to be like more realistic, even though that game sucked. But I was really into those skating games for a while. That's like one of the only surviving pictures of me ever playing a game in that era is me playing Tony Hawk on my PlayStation. I got to dig up that picture because it's horrifying. But
what's horrifying about it?
It's just Colin in 10th grade.
Okay.
So
sounds horrifying.
Horrifying.
So I'm gonna wait and see approach. It sounds dumb, but Tony Hawk was kind of always dumb.
It is. I mean, that's the thing. Like, Tony Hawk's always been. It's very arcadey. It's very. Let's get a high score. Can I do that? Oh, I can. How can I? Can I do it better? And like, I love that type of shit. And it's like, oh, hey, Spider-Man's a playable character, and like Darth Vader or Darth Maul, or whatever. It's like, that's awesome. I love that stuff. Officer Dick and all this shit. But like, getting that again, I want nothing more than that. Because I'm that type of guy. I just want the experiences I loved again with a shiny new coat of paint. But then I look at this coat of paint, and I'm just like, this looks like the same PS3 HD game that I played a couple years ago, and the physics were slightly off.
Yeah.
And it's being made by the same guys, the Robomoto.
And they're like, we had a hit before, we'll make it a hit again.
And I was just like, I mean, here's my thing. For all the shit that I'm talking, I'm going to play this game. I'm going to platinum it for all intents and purposes.
You're not going to platinum it.
I might.
No.
I mean, I might be wrong about this.
You got to see the trophy. Don't commit until you see the list.
But whatever it is, I tried platinuming the HD one just because like I really like this stuff. And I might have done it. I might be wrong. Someone tell me. I probably didn't. But anyways, I'm gonna try.
Okay, I'm good. I'm glad. I want you to enjoy this game. I don't want you to get too hung up on the projectiles. We don't know what that means. It could be anything. Maybe it's a Fast and Furious minigame.
I don't want that.
Shoot Vin Diesel's necklace at Michelle Rodriguez's face.
You won me over, Greg.